Hi everybody, this is Homie Hobbies. I hope you had a good week and a good holiday season. Today we are opening up the October 2023 Illumicrate box. As you can tell, we're starting to catch up now because it is currently December when I'm filming this, and hopefully I will have this uploaded in December so that we can quickly film November's and December's. Now, for those of you who don't know what Illumicrate is a book subscription box. Now, they have different kinds of subscriptions for different genres, and they have two different tiers for this specific box. One tier where it is just the book of the month itself that comes in, and the other which comes with little goodies that are either related to the book itself, to the themes, or to the genres. So like I said, today we are opening October's box. So, October's theme is fairy tale forests. The first thing we have here is a little pamphlet describing everything that comes within the box and a description of our book itself. I like to go over this at the end to briefly mention the artist, the author of the book, and to discuss the theme of the next month, which is found on the back of the pamphlet. So let's get started. Our first item here says that it is a Otherworld desk mat based on the book The Last Tale of the Flower Bride. Now, if I keep this will actually be my first desk mat. I don't actually use my desk that often. These days I mostly use it if I'm working on a hobby or if I'm filming a video, but most of the time it's just slightly cluttered. Now, as we can see here, the mat has a few flowers, a butterfly, a key with a bird on it, and a bigger bird. This seems to take place in the nighttime. There's a second key here, and on the second key the bird has red eyes, and on the first one it has blue eyes. I think this is a very cute mat, and if I really did use my desk, I would probably use this as my first mat. Now, also, to be honest, I haven't read the book this is based on, but you know, we'll get there. Next up, we have some sticky note tabs. I absolutely love using tabs and labels in my books when I'm reading or for noting different recipes. And you can see here that there are different designs on each colored tab. The first one seems to be an herb bundle, then stones, a crystal, some lavender, something pink in a bottle, a flower, some leaves, some cattails, a mushroom that looks like it belongs in the strange horticulture game, and a type of fern. Now, this item I'm really excited about. They mentioned in the last pamphlet that we would be getting a replica. Usually these replicas are swords or daggers. Oh, this one came a little crusty with some paper fill around it, so I'm just gonna clean it right now. Alrighty, so now that that's looking just a little bit better, let's get to opening this. So here is our replica sword. Now, I won't find out what book this is from until later, but you can see that it is a nice heavy sword, paperweight replica. Very cool. It has green leaves. You can see all along the sword there are etched leaves into it with blue-green lines going on the edge. With some green leaves as the separator between the hilt and the blade itself, and more leaves on the hilt. I find these replicas really beautiful. I believe this is my first one, and I can't wait to put it in my room. Now, our last item here, I accidentally mistook for as our book because it was so big. I didn't realize there was something else under it. But you can see here it is a green book with gold etchings on it. Now it's illustrated with a book, an arrow, an apple, and a fox on the front cover with 2 lockets, and it says, "For finding dreams that don't exist yet." Now if we open up this beautiful thing, you'll see that it is dotted paper. I don't own anything with dotted paper. I am more of in Spanish we call it cuadriculado, but grid paper, that's the word. I'm more of a grid paper person when it comes to note taking rather than lined or dotted, but I think this would be perfect as my reading journal as soon as I finish my first one. And as you can see, it has a strap to keep it closed and a strap to keep a pen with it. I actually think this is gorgeous and I cannot wait to use it. And last but not least, here we have our book. Our book for the month of October is After the Forest by Kel Woods. You can see that the cover itself is green with gold etchings on it as well. You can see gold and green was a theme for this book. And there is a bear under the author's name. Now, I really like the contrast between the gold, the green, and the white. I think that was really well done. Alright, now, the description on the back of the book. She knew the recipe by heart, could recite it in her sleep, and yet she was always careful to work with the book beside her, open at the same dusty page, the ink worn with long use. To not do so would result in an altogether different kind of gingerbread, no less sweet, but somehow lacking. It would serve, of course, but it would not smell the way the book's baking smelled, enticing and eaty, full of rapture and delight, as though to not eat of it would be your very ruin. Greta knew how it felt. She had known the sweetness of the witch's gingerbread, could recall its hold upon her still. The little gingerbread house that had so entranced her and her brother all those years ago had been crafted with more than just cinnamon and cloves, honey and eggs and ginger. There was magic in it too, seeping from the book's pages, working its way into the dough. It was not only hunger that had driven them to eat it. Very cool. I feel like that told us a good backstory for the book, but it hasn't really said anything about the current plot itself. Now here in the interior, we have our art. We can see here that this must be Gretel baking her little gingerbread house in a kitchen. Oh, and on the back we actually have a different design, which may be her brother or a love interest, someone bringing something to her from the looks of it, and she is surprised, to say the least. On the back here we also have a note on our author. Kel Woods is an Australian historical fantasy author. She lives with her husband and her 2 sons and the most beautiful black cat in the realm. She's worked in libraries before, which I think is a lot of readers' dreams when they were kids, and likes reading fairy tales. Here you can see the artwork on the page ends, again coming in with that green and gold theme that we have going on, with leaves, a pine cone, and a bear. And it seems like they actually elongated the book by a few pages to help finish up the page and artwork. Now here on the inside flap, we have a little more about the story. Ginger, honey, cinnamon, flour. 20 years after the witch in the gingerbread house, Greta and Hans are struggling to get by. Their father and stepmother are long dead. Hans is deeply in debt from gambling, and the countryside lies in ruin, its people starving in the aftermath of a brutal war. Greta has a secret, though. The witch's grimoire, secreted away and whispering in Greta's ear for the past 2 decades. And the recipe inside that makes the best gingerbread you've ever tasted. As long as she can bake, Greta can keep her small family afloat. But in a village full of superstition, Greta and her mysteriously addictive gingerbread, not to mention the rumors about her childhood misadventures, are a source of gossip and suspicion. And now, dark magic is returning to the woods, and Greta's magic she is still trying to understand, may be the only thing that can save her, if it doesn't kill her first. There we go. Now we know more about the book. It's actually a little bit exciting. Now, Illumicrate is well known for their artwork, and here is the book itself without the dust cover. I really like it. I believe this is how they would depict the grimoire that Gretel now has. And the words here, I think it says, take a quart of honey and something clean, beat finely, also the whitest sugar you can get, something fine ginger, above, beneath, and blood, and a little pain. And we have more of the same design around the rest of the book. Alrighty, so that was our book for the month of October. Again, called After the Forest by Kel Woods. Now I'm just going to bring everything back in so we can have one final look at it all together while we go over what each item is and who created the artwork. So our first item in our Fairy Tale Forest box was the Nightfell replica. Now the replica is from The Cruel Prince. It is based on the Folk of the Air series by Holly Black and is designed by Stacey McVoy-Kant. Our second item is the Woodland Treasures page tabs featuring elements from Bitterthorn, artwork by Verena Lichson at Veymoth. Then we have the Domus Somina desk pad, artwork by Kristen Engelberth at CEILLO. This is inspired, like we said, by the last tale of the Flower Bride. Then our last item was the Finding Dreams notebook, designed by Fez Inkwright at Ross Doddier. Now it is inspired by Once Upon a Broken Heart. And on this other side, you can see information about our book. Oh, and it says that it has a bound-in author letter, so let's take a look at that. The author writes, Dear Illumicrate reader, do you remember the story of Hansel and Gretel, the poor woodcutter and his cruel new wife, and their abandonment of his 2 children in the forest? The witch who finds them, luring them with a gingerbread house and locking Hansel in a cage before brave Gretel pushes her into her own oven? And have you ever wondered how the woodcutter would have done that to his children? Simply walked away and left them in the forest? And why the witch chose Hansel, not Gretel, for dinner? And how Gretel would have felt after the infamous oven push? And whether any of them, father, brother, sister, would have really lived happily ever after? I have. I've thought about it a lot. Abandoned by their father, Hansel and Gretel are left to fend for themselves for days. They are kidnapped, locked up, terrorized. They survive because one of them, interestingly, the female child, kills the witch. What would happen if these characters were real people? How would they have endured such darkness and pain? When I started writing after the forest, I wanted to cut open the familiar tales we read as children, turning them inside out and exposing the gritty red lining. The result is here before you. So in the spirit of grit and underbellies, I invite you to prepare yourself. Gather your pack or basket, your flint and iron, your cook pot, your water skin. Take a knife and a bow, or a musket if you're so inclined. Wrap yourself in your warmest cloak, and step back into the deep, dark forest of a fairy tale. You'll know when you reach its edges. An old boundary stone marks the way, and etched into its mossy face are the words, "Once upon a time." Now, a lot of fairy tales are actually based on Grimm's stories, and these are actually, grim. So I'm hoping this is quite grim. I want spooky for this book, and I'm really hoping the author delivers that here. And now, for our last bit of the pamphlet, we are going to look over our November theme, the anti-hero. It says there's blood on their hands and a stone blade at their hip. The November Illumicrate book is Starling House by Alex E. Harrow. Oh, that's a first. In the past, Illumicrate hasn't revealed what book they have in their theme sneak peek. That's actually a little disappointing for me personally, but it says that it is an exclusive edition with a royal hardback, features a transparent overlay dust jacket, printed edges, and paper artwork. Oh, and that it's unsigned. The items are inspired by the Murderbot Diaries, Gideon the Ninth, Nettle and Bone, and the Stardust Thief. Oh, and it says it's going to have a collectible mug. Okay, that I'm interested in. Well, thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you in the next unboxing. Goodbye.